Okay, imagine this for a second. You're accused of something pretty violent, kicking down a door, an assault, fleeing the scene on foot.
Right. Serious stuff.
Now, picture the person actually accused. He's been a paraplegic, uses a wheelchair, has done for, what, over 20 years?
Yeah, since he was a teenager. For 2 decades.
It's just baffling. And that unbelievable scenario is really the core of the story we're getting into today.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, welcome. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise. And today, we're unpacking this absolutely wild case. It's got alleged mistaken identity, police incompetence, maybe something worse.
Oh, I think it leans into something worse. Indifference, certainly. It's all based on some recent reporting, mainly from the civil rights lawyer over on YouTube.
And it really shows how easily things can just go off the rails, how due process can kind of unravel.
Exactly. And for anyone new to this story, strap in, because the characters involved, the twists, it's just layer upon layer of absurdity. You'll honestly be shaking your head.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It starts back in June 2024.
Right. A woman, Katherine Jensen, she calls the police.
And what does she report?
Some very, very serious claims.
Yeah.
She says her ex-boyfriend, a guy named Charles Reed, kicked her door in,
Okay.
then choked her, tried to steal her car keys.
Uh-huh.
And then, this is the key part she mentioned, he fled on foot.
Fled on foot. Okay, these are heavy accusations, felonies.
Absolutely, violent ones.
Yeah.
But here's where the whole thing immediately becomes, well, incredible.
This is the suspect part.
Yeah. The suspect, Charles Reed, he's a paraplegic.
Right. He said since he was 18.
Since he was 18. So yeah, 20, maybe even 25 years in a wheelchair. It's not like a temporary thing. It's his reality.
So the idea of him kicking a door down, fleeing on foot, it's...
physically impossible. Utterly absurd on its face.
Okay, so wait. If she knew him, if he was supposedly her recent ex, did she mention the wheelchair to the police? That seems like a pretty critical detail.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no. Apparently she described him average build, brown hair, black clothes.
Standard description.
Yeah, but never once mentioned the wheelchair. Not a word.
How? Especially when claiming he fled on foot.
Exactly. That omission alone should have set off alarm bells, right?
Yeah.
Huge red flag. It defies all logic.
But it didn't. The police didn't immediately question this massive hole in the story.
It seems not. Which is maybe the first sign of the incompetence we're talking about.
So what did they do? Did they, look into her claims, try to verify anything about Mr. Reed?
Yeah. No. Instead, the officer who took the call, Officer Mark Belot, he does something pretty sneaky.
Okay.
He starts emailing Mr. Reed. Basically tricks him into coming down to the station.
How? What did he say?
He framed it as, needing to clear up a case of mistaken identity.
Mm-hmm.
That made it sound like a quick chat to sort things out.
But that wasn't the real reason.
No. The source indicates the real intent was just to get him there to arrest him. No investigation, just luring him in.
Wow. Okay, that approach already says a lot about Officer Belot. So Mr. Reed, thinking he's just clearing his name.
Right. He shows up at the station. This is March 20th.
And what happens when he gets there? Does Belot explain?
Not really. Officer Belot, the same guy who emailed him, immediately reads him his Miranda rights.
Whoa. Okay, so straight into potential arrest territory.
Yep. And then hits him with the accusation directly. Something like, Miss Jensen says you forcefully entered her home and attacked her.
Imagine hearing that, sitting there in your wheelchair. What did Mr. Reed say?
Well, confusion mostly. Total disbelief. He's like, I have no idea who she even is.
He didn't know her at all.
Didn't know her. And he points out the obvious, right? I've been paralyzed for like 25 years. Since he was 18.
He also mentioned he was married, right? Not her ex.
Exactly. Said he was married, definitely not her recent ex. And he had an alibi for the day it supposedly happened. He was at a dinner party with friends.
Okay, solid alibi, doesn't know the accuser, physically impossible crime. Seems pretty clear-cut.
You'd think.
Yeah.
And he also made it clear, no police had contacted him before that email. He was blindsided.
So Belot hears all this. The denial, the alibi, the obvious physical fact of the wheelchair. What does he do?
He proceeds to try and arrest him. Starts trying to handcuff him.
Wait, while he's in the wheelchair?
Yes. And this is where it gets really awful. As Belot's trying to handcuff him and presumably pull him up or something,
No.
Mr. Reed falls out of his wheelchair right onto the floor. because he has no muscle control. He's literally saying, I literally can't. I don't have muscle control. I'm paralyzed.
Oh my God. So he's on the floor, handcuffed, paralyzed, pleading.
Exactly. A completely vulnerable man protesting his innocence based on an impossible accusation.
How does an officer possibly continue after that? Seeing that, it's horrifying.
It really is. And this is where some other characters start coming into the picture, thankfully.
Okay.
So while Mr. Reed is still on the floor, another officer happens to walk by, sees what's going on.
And his reaction?
He immediately sees something's wrong. Unlike Belot, he seems to use basic common sense. He actually helps Mr. Reed back into his chair.
Okay, good. Finally.
And then he asks the obvious question. He hears Mr. Reed say he's paralyzed and basically says, well, somebody must have made a mistake then, because if the door was kicked in, he didn't kick it in.
A voice of reason, did that help? Did he talk to Belot or a supervisor?
He tried. He goes to explain the situation to his lieutenant.
Yeah,
The lieutenant is apparently just sitting there eating lunch. Doesn't seem bothered at all.
he knew what was happening.
Yeah, he knew. But his reaction was just unbelievably callous. He dismisses the whole thing, calls Reed's paralysis a ruse.
A ruse. He thought he was faking being paralyzed after falling out of his chair.
Apparently so. Called it an obvious attempt to not go to jail. And get this, he reportedly said Reed falling was funny to watch.
Funny. That's deeply disturbing. That level of indifference from a supervisor.
It's shocking, right? Just doubling down on the absurdity, ignoring his own officer's observations.
So even with this other officer pointing out the obvious, even after seeing Reed fall, Belot still wants to arrest him.
Still insists, yeah. He's struggling to even justify it at this point. Makes these bizarre statements like, I don't think just because you're in a wheelchair it doesn't mean you can't break a door down.
How is he suggesting he rammed it with his wheelchair? It's nonsensical.
Totally grasping at straws. Anything to avoid admitting he messed up, it seems. The physical evidence is right there, and he's just inventing scenarios.
Meanwhile, Mr. Reed is desperately trying to prove his innocence, right? What did he offer?
Oh, everything reasonable. He offered to call his doctor right then and there.
Okay.
Offered to show documentation from Grady Hospital, from when he was shot and paralyzed at 19. Show his handicap placard.
Solid proof. Verifiable.
He even suggested they drive him to Grady Hospital for immediate verification.
And Belot's response?
Brushed it all off. Demanded paper, but then said even that was a later on matter. Basically, we'll figure out if you're innocent after we arrest you.
That's backwards. The whole point is probable cause before arrest.
Yeah, exactly. The irony is thick. He wants proof, but not the proof being offered, and not before making the arrest.
You can just imagine Mr. Reed's state of mind, the absolute disbelief.
Oh, completely. He kept saying he felt tricked into coming here today, trying to talk to a judge, anyone higher up, just stunned by the sheer incompetence, as he put it. His trust was just shattering.
Did a supervisor eventually show up, besides the lieutenant eating lunch?
Yeah, a sergeant gets called over. But according to the source, he was no help either.
Really?
Just confirmed there was a warrant, confirmed transport was needed, showed zero interest in the actual facts, the glaring contradictions, just process over reality.
So it seems like he's definitely going to jail at this point. This is looking grim.
It really does. But then there's a slight unexpected turn. A transport officer shows up. A woman.
And she
seems to be the first person, besides that second officer, to show a bit of flexibility, maybe just practicality. She arranges for him to actually leave.
Leave.
She arranges for him to come back later, basically to turn himself back in. It bought him crucial time. Time to get a lawyer, time to fight this outside of that immediate crazy situation.
Wow. A small mercy, but huge in that context.
Absolutely vital. And thankfully, he wasn't arrested on that warrant that day. He was eventually dismissed entirely.
That's good news. How did that happen? Did the system finally figure it out?
Well, yes, but here's the really telling part. It only got dismissed after the whole story broke on the Atlanta TV news.
So public pressure, media exposure.
Seems like it. Which really underscores the power, sometimes the necessity, of public scrutiny when the system fails internally.
And what about Katherine Jensen, the accuser?
Eventually, she publicly admits that she's absolutely nuts and she had no contact with this guy.
So not just mistaken identity, a complete fabrication based on who knows what.
Exactly. And here's another layer of failure. The police could have, maybe should have, known she was unreliable.
How so?
The sources say if they'd just checked her arrest record, they would have seen she'd been arrested for similar false allegations before.
Oh, come on. So this wasn't even her first time making things up like this.
Apparently not. A basic background check on the accuser might have flagged the whole thing from the start. Just another misstep.
Yeah, okay, so pulling back, this isn't just one bad officer, is it? It feels bigger.
I think it has to be seen as bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just simple incompetence, though there's plenty of that.
What else is going on here?
Well, you see Officer Belot, and especially that lieutenant, it looks like they're actively doubling down to cover his own ass, as the source puts it, even when the truth is staring them in the face.
So it becomes about protecting themselves, protecting the initial bad decision, rather than seeking truth.
It certainly looks that way. Ego, institutional self-preservation, refusing to admit a mistake, even when a man's liberty is on the line and the mistake is so glaringly obvious.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often does this kind of thing happen when there isn't a camera rolling or a news crew asking questions?
That's the truly chilling thought.
And that second officer, the one who tried to intervene, he really stands out.
He does. He's like the one person trying to inject sanity, trying to do the right thing. But his common sense was completely shut down by his superiors.
What does that say about internal checks and balances if the person pointing out the emperor has no clothes gets ignored?
It says they're fragile, maybe non-existent in practice sometimes. When indifference from the top allows flawed procedures to just roll forward, integrity doesn't stand much chance. The existing warrant, however flawed its basis, became the only thing that mattered.
And legally, for Mr. Reed, can he sue? It seems like such a clear case of negligence, at the very least.
You'd think so, but it's actually really tough. The sources point this out. Suing the government for stuff like this is notoriously difficult.
Boy, duh.
Things like qualified immunity often protect officials unless their actions violate clearly established rights in a really obvious, intentional way. Negligence or incompetence often isn't enough.
Even when it's this egregious.
Yeah. While you can sue if they, say, deliberately lied to get the warrant, just acting on a facially valid warrant, even if the info behind it is garbage and easily disproven, that gives them a lot of cover. It has to be, as the source says, really, really egregious to overcome that.
So even this might not be egregious enough for a successful lawsuit.
It's possible. The legal bar is incredibly high. So realistically, this is probably a closed case for Mr. Reed in terms of civil action.
That's just incredibly frustrating. It highlights how the system can protect itself even when it fails an individual so badly.
It really does. And it brings us back to the importance of exposure.
Right. The civil rights lawyer channel, the news coverage.
Exactly. Their mission is vital, exposing what government regularly does to people. Because sometimes, sadly, the only thing that government fears is negative public exposure. Without that media attention, Mr. Reed could easily have ended up arrested, facing a nightmare.
So as we wrap this up, think about Charles Reed's story. Think about lying handcuffed on the floor, paralyzed, trying to prove the impossible didn't happen.
And facing a system and individuals within it that seem determined not to listen, not to see the obvious truth.
It leaves you with a pretty heavy question, doesn't it? When systems are this resistant, this indifferent, what's our role? What responsibility do we as citizens who know these stories have?
Yeah, what does it really take for genuine accountability? Especially when the instinct is just to protect the process, however flawed, or, frankly, to cover your own ass. How do we push for a system where common sense, integrity, and just basic decency win out over bureaucratic inertia and indifference?
Something to really mull over. How do we ensure truth matters more than procedure? A crucial question raised by this absolutely unbelievable case.